Now, let's begin.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, I just got done watching The Tourist Season 2, Episode 3. Alright, so this episode's not too bad. Just to give you a heads up, usually what I do is I kind of give my review of the episode and maybe give you a little bit of spoilers. Usually the first episode I always go pretty hardcore in the spoilers, I guess deep in the paint. But after that, kind of sprinkle in certain high points of each episode. And this one, I wouldn't say it's a filler. It is a good one. It is. It's still got my interest. They still writing very well. They have a lot. Again, like I said before, they have some characters in it, and I'm interested in them for sure. But all right. But all in all, it's still a solid season so far. It's the third one, so I got 3 more left, and we'll just review each one after I get done watching it. Even though they're all available on Netflix if you want to binge it and just skip this video altogether. But let's just go ahead and get into it. So this is the high points. So take over from what happened last episode. While Elliot was at that location where the place to make the alcohol, he runs into Frank McDonald. Frank McDonald calls him Eugene instead of Elliot, and Elliot's like, "What?" and kind of like back and forth. And Frank's basically kind of giving the runaround, not giving information, and Elliot just wants the truth and all that. And Eugene said, well, not Eugene, Frank says, you need to talk to your mother. So he tries to convince Elliot to stay. He escapes to go look for his mom. Well, on the other side of that, other scene goes to where Helen is when Helen meets the crime detective, finds out his wife is deceased in the basement. That's the reason stinking. So to run through it, basically the crime detective kidnaps her, I should say, temporarily, and she tries to find a way to get out. Well, in the meantime, when that happened, it's back to Elliot. Elliot is back at the hotel trying to call Helen. Helen has no, can't just go straight to voicemail. While he was there, Ethan comes and tries to win back Helen, of course, and they're trying to have one particular go, trying to find Helen. Ethan, being the awesome guy that he is, he was stalking her long before. He had a tracker on her phone, like Find My Friends that you have on your iPhone. He knows where her last location was. That leads him back to the location of the crime detective. The crime detective wasn't there for a moment, and his mother accidentally lets him in because she wasn't there on the head. And Helen downstairs is trying to get away, but she screams and yells, but the walls are super thick and they won't be able to hear him. But anyways, the detective kind of finds a way to get them out of that particular area, and he was successful for that. So the next step is Ethan and Elliot was going to go to the next previous location that she was at the bar. So they go to the bar, and at that point, there was another guy in a taxi recognizes them. Well, at that point, throughout the episode, there's one part where Elliot's mom went to the same guy for assistance to find Elliot, which already gave his already took the action from Frank. Frank called him first to help with find Elliot. So Elliot's mom was not able to get his service because he was already taken. So anywho, the guy that was in the taxi saw Elliot there. He contacted that guy, and the guy tells his posse to come there and to get him. They go there to capture him or whatever, and Elliot was able to defeat him off. Of course, Ethan's unable to do anything. In the meantime, he's almost been overwhelmed by the group of guys there. One guy comes through. He's like maybe 6'5" or 7 foot. Comes in, whoops up on everybody. While he's doing that, Elliot and Ethan's able to escape. While that's going on, Frank McDonald's talking to that kid or that young guy that helped Elliot to escape the island. And Frank's like, how did Elliot leave that particular island? The island he's not that good of a swimmer. How did he do it? And the the guy's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. He just did. So pretty much Frank probably knows that young kid helped, but he didn't really do it. He just kind of see if he would squirm to tell the truth. Well, on that aspect, speaking of Frank, Frank's posse, I would say, or gang, the lady that in the first season that got her stomach cut open by Elliot, she's the one hired Frank's team to capture and get rid of Elliot. And she goes, talks to him, and he said, "Oh, I'm sorry he escaped. You know, there's nothing I can do." And he said, "I'll make a deal with you. I will defeat him while you watch." And she said, "I don't agree to that." He's like, "Well, that's the only option we have." So he's still, like, Frank's son, I think, said he'll still take care of what she requested before. Back to Helen. Now, Helen is down in the basement trying to escape. So basically, from what happened to the detective, crime detective, I should say, his wife passed away with colon cancer, and he really didn't. I don't know if he took her life or what, but she deceased in the house. So he really didn't want to dispose of her body and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if what he did, but that's the reason it stunk so bad for everybody who came close to the house. And you can tell the detective have some issues because that mannequin had, his wife's clothing on, and he was telling Helen that, this is my wife's last dress she wore, and she fixed me certain type of meal and all that kind of stuff. And Helen was trying to get out of there, right? So basically, when the crime detective left, Helen put on the dress that mannequin was wearing, and it worked for a certain point. And the detective's like, "Oh, Mary," So, and Helen was trying to be like Mary, dance with him and all that kind of stuff, and ask to fix some food. And she had a knife, and he gave it to her and said, "Fix the beans, and I will give it to you." But he was playing smart. He wasn't stupid, right? He was like, "Okay, you're done with the knife. You can put it down." So she was like, "Okay," she was leaning into it. She was trying to find every way possible to leave the dungeon that she was in, right? Well, at that point, it bounced back and forth to, what Elliot and Ethan's doing. But back to Helen, there was one point where there was dancing, and Helen was close to the knife, and she reached over to grab the knife, and she was getting ready to stab him in the back to escape, right? Well, the crime detective just broke down crying and says, "I love you, Mary." And you can see Helen's face like it broke her heart, so she put down the knife. At that point, I'm like, "Oh my God, Helen, I love you, but geez." Well, at that point, then that's when back to Elliot, and then going back to Helen again. The next morning or whatever, she wakes up and the door's unlocked. She goes up, and the crime detective said, "You can leave now." I knew. She's like, he said, "I knew you was able to cut me, but you didn't." He said, "I realizes I need to let some stuff go." She said, you need to turn yourself in." He's like, "I am. I'm planning on it." He opens the bag and has some stuff in it. So he said he's planning on turn myself in. And she's like, "I need to find Elliot." He's like, "Oh yeah, I got to tell you, Elliot was here. He's looking for you. He's alive." So she goes to the hotel and calls Elliot on the phone and say, "Hey, I'm here. Where you at?" He's like, and Elliot was talking to his mom. His mom really didn't give much information about him. He was very vague. And she says, "It's probably best that you don't remember some things." While he was talking to her, that's when Helen called. And he's like, "I'm so sorry, Mom." He didn't say Mom. He's like, "I'm so sorry. I got to go." So because he loves Helen. So he goes to see Helen at the hotel, and Helen meets him and realizes Ethan's there. And Ethan's like, "Hey," being awkward that he is and rude. starts talking, and she's going to tell him something. She finds out, and this is what she finds out through the paperwork that she saw at the police department that the crime detective did not give her or give anybody. So basically, what happens? What happens at that point? She tells Elliot that the DNA they found from the whiskey glass that was cut, it was from Elliot and the other gentleman, the young kid that helped him escape. They said his name, and it's like, yeah, that's the kid that helped me escape. He said, yeah, it was Elliot, but the DNA shows it's the first generation of Elliot's last name. He said, that's your son. And you can, and you are you're like, what? And the scene ends. And I have to say, I'm like, oh my God, poor Elliot. He's got some. So basically, what it is both parties are both, his mom and Frank have been at war with each other for years. And I guess Elliot fell in love with Frank's group of with somebody there, had a kid, and that's what caused a lot of issues again with the family, apparently. So, but anywho, that's the gist of this episode. It's not bad. It's good. It's really done well. Again, I keep on repeating that, but it's good. It's a good series. It's got my interest, and I just like poor old Elliot, man. He tries to try to figure everything out and try to do the best he can, try to make up for what he did. It's just like it gets deeper and deeper of trying to figure out what his mom did and all that. There's another scene with his mother, with one of her colleagues, guys that works for her, went to a house to have blood on the in a cabin or something that they didn't want to clean up because she said she wanted nothing to do with it. So her people that worked for her never cleaned it up. So they went to that place for answers, I think. And she asked him, why didn't you take care of the stuff? And he's like, well, you said you don't want nobody to come back. She said, I didn't mean it that way. So she went to get some cleaning material to clean it up. I don't know what the gist of that is. It's probably Elliot's girlfriend's, probably blood. That's what I'm thinking. Or somebody else. Don't really know. But anyways, I know it's a long up and down kind of conversation about this episode, but like I didn't go deep and like bit by bit, scene by scene like I did before. But it's a pretty good episode. Like I said, it's not a filler. It has some stuff in it, and it has a little bit of humor, but still, I like it. It's how they did it. It's just very. Again, I always say the Marvel humor. It's not heavy-handed with humor. It's kind of just subtle, the awkwardness, and they just keep on doing it. And I like it. It's fun. It's well done. Again, but anywho, that's the gist of this episode, and I'll go ahead and probably watch episode 4 probably the next couple of days and put it on this YouTube, and hopefully you all will like it and go from there. And yeah, all right, I'll catch you all then later.